What's up guys, Blake Hawthorne, It's His Turf. Today I want to talk to you about a landscape job that we just got done wrapping up and a little bit of what goes into those designs. Alright, so when I am doing a design on a landscaping, what I like to do is I like to use framers, and this is usually in 3, so you see them kind of carry themselves across the property, and that way it balances the landscape. Typically I like to use a larger stature trees for these, either out in berms or even next to the building to soften the corners. And then also I like to use evergreens typically to soften some of the corners, or even come in and frame in each side of a doorway, things like that. In this job specifically, guys, what we did is we used a combination of different framers, and that is our Golden Deodars. These are our larger stature evergreen trees that we put in. We also use Japanese maples. They're dormant right now, but when they start blooming, they are going to be absolutely beautiful with that deep red purplish leaf. And then we also use Pampas grasses. So the reason we use those 3 is because they give you different textures. You have the texture of the evergreen, the texture of the Japanese maple, and then the texture of the ornamental grass. So the great thing about these is not only do we plant them in typically 3s or 4s across the front. I like odd numbers, but sometimes we use even numbers, 3s and 5s and things like that. So they're each in a cluster. So each of these berms on this project specifically, we put our large stature evergreen in. This is our Golden Deodara. And then we put in a Japanese maple. This is typically about 15 to 20 foot off, and it's at an angle away from the Golden Deodara. And then we came in and we put in the Pampas grass. Sometimes what I like to do is I don't do the same 3 pattern every time, unless I'm like framing in the driveway like I did here. You get the 3 different textures, and they're both larger stature plants, and these really frame in the berm. And so what we do after we frame in the berm is we like to use boulders to soften some of the area. You know, that's crazy. Boulders to soften. Okay, so really boulders to kind of anchor. So we like to use boulders to anchor in the landscaping. And so in those voids, we'll kind of put those boulders in there, and they just kind of anchor everything together. And then we like to soften it with fillers. So fillers are like daylilies, liriope, smaller ground cover plants like junipers or roses, kaleidoscopes. And so on this project specifically, we used the drift rose, and this is a nice ground cover creeping flowering shrub. And then we used kaleidoscope abelia. This gave us a yellow color to the foliage that we weren't getting in anything else. So variations of colors and variations of textures, and that's what we're looking for. So the drift rose, like I said, they're gonna bloom all summer long, so it's just gonna give it that knockout, flowers all summer, gonna look awesome. And then we're gonna have that nice deep yellow foliage of the kaleidoscope, and then the deep red of the Japanese maple, softened by the green and the white of the Pampas grass, and then we have that yellow and green of the Golden Deodara, which is our evergreen tree. So there's a nice variation in there. There's a lot of evergreen stuff. The only thing that's gonna actually, lose its leaves is gonna be the Japanese maple, so it's just gonna stay full of color, especially once the plants get mature 3 to 5 years from now. And so that's what we do on the berms. But what we like to do up around the building is put a row of evergreens in here. This wall didn't have any windows or things like that, so we were really trying to soften it. That's why we went with the columnar evergreens. They're a Canardi juniper, and we planted those all down the side of the building. And then we accented them in between with some more of the kaleidoscope abelias that we put in the berms that would just add that yellow foliage in between each of them. The customer really wanted to go with a western rustic feel, and it really reminded me when they were describing it of like Longhorn Steakhouse here in town. And so I wanted to go ahead and use that oversized 3 to 5 inch river gravel for a lot of our accents. We put it in along the building, and then we went across the front of the building as well. We put in some mulch accents, but trying to keep the 3 to 5 inches our main framers. We also left a couple rings in a few places, so that way they could put annuals here in the spring. Around the front of the building, I wanted to go ahead and put in a Golden Boxwood. I put these Golden Boxwoods in because they have a nice orange tint to their leaf in the winter. This added another color variation, but also they stay very compact and small, so they're gonna be low maintenance. And then we just accented them with some more of the drift roses, so that way they're gonna have that creeping ground cover that's gonna give them color all summer long. We then took those same boxwoods and we moved them out to the outside of the edge of the parking lot. We put them down to soften the outside edge, just to break it up between it and the grass lot next door. And we went ahead and we put in a 3 to 5 inch river gravel there, just kind of carry that same feel from the building and accents along the berms to the outside edge to finish that out. Also, it's going to be low maintenance. Hopefully, if any trash or debris gets in those, we can just blow them out when blowing off the parking lot and not have to worry about blowing the mulch out. I really do appreciate you taking the time to watch my video. Be sure and leave a comment down below. Guys, if you want to learn more about these designs, be sure and check out my playbook course in 2 weeks, where we'll be talking about landscape designs and just introduction into landscaping. I'll have a free bid binder, documents that'll just get you some of the basic installs of landscaping and how we do some of our price points for that. But guys, thank you, God bless, and take care.